The shattered social contract of Imo State. Recent data from the International Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law paints a disturbing portrait of Imo State under the governance of Governor Hope Uzodinma. From a staggering 1,000 civilian deaths to the razing of 1,400 homes within the span of 2.5 years, the grim statistics read like the chronicle of a society in complete disarray. With the alarming rates of human rights violations, it becomes evident that the social contract, the foundational promise between a state and its citizens, has been shattered. In a staggering revelation into society notes that in just 24 days, between June the 7th and June 30th, 2023, 100 unarmed civilians met their untimely end at the hands of security forces. Additionally, not less than 200 individuals were arbitrarily detained, with the credible likelihood of torture or even death while in custody. The most affected communities, including but not limited to Izombe, Agwa, Amucha, Orlu, Njaba, and Osu, are battlegrounds for atrocities that include forced disappearances and extrajudicial killings. More troubling still is the apparent manipulation of this already dire narrative by authorities who seem more intent on crafting a tale of the so-called unknown gunmen or members of the proscribed IPOB and its ESN terrorists than owning up to the grave failures of their security infrastructure. Such actions don't merely erode public trust, they annihilate it, leaving a vulnerable populace not only unprotected, but effectively silenced. Against this dystopian backdrop, the endorsement of Governor Uzodinma by traditional rulers from the Orlu zone is a betrayal so stark its borders and surreal. Far from being a mere political move, it represents a profound disconnect from the tragic realities their subjects face daily. This endorsement is not an innocuous act, it is an incendiary one. It adds fuel to an already raging fire of ethnic and political tensions, setting the stage for potential electoral violence as Imo State gears up for its next election cycle. The untenable situation in the Owala Urata Autonomous Community in Owerri North, where residents had to protest against the forceful confiscation and destruction of their farmlands by suspected government agents, exemplifies the dereliction of duty by those in power. It is yet another instance in the litany of failures that constitutes a severe crisis of governance in the state. Imo State finds itself at a pivotal moment. Its citizens deserve governance that defends their rights, not one that annihilates them. They deserve leaders who serve as bulwarks of societal stability, not agents of chaos trading in the currency of human suffering. For a state endowed with cultural richness and untapped potential, the present is a dire and unacceptable aberration. As Imo State wobbles on the edge of this precipice, the choices made today will determine its future trajectory. Will it continue its free fall into an abyss of anarchy and despair, or will it reclaim its path towards justice, peace, and sustainable development? It is time for a renewed social contract, one that restores the broken trust and offers hope instead of perpetual dread. Only then can Imo State begin to mend its fractured society and restore the dignity of its beleaguered citizens. The future, a fork in the road, the unraveling of democratic foundations in Imo State. Governance and traditional leadership are expected to be the fulcrum around which the wheel of societal stability rotates. Yet, the endorsement of Governor Hope Uzodinma by the traditional rulers of Orlu local government area presents a harrowing deviation from this norm, one that severely tests the roots of democracy in Imo State and Nigeria as a whole. As the proverbial wisdom from Nigeria itself states, when the roots are deep, there is no reason to fear the wind. The roots of democracy in Nigeria are currently facing a tempest, and it is a storm of our own making. The traditional ruler's endorsement is not an isolated incident. Rather, it epitomizes a broader systemic ailment that erodes the foundations of democracy and governance. The endorsement comes in a backdrop replete with tragic figures: 1,000 civilians killed, 1,400 homes destroyed, and countless lives irrevocably altered under the current administration. Given these grim statistics, the endorsement reads less like a testament of confidence and more like a glaring abdication of moral and social responsibility. It must be clearly stated: this endorsement is a betrayal not just of the constituents these rulers are supposed to represent, but also of the core principles that underpin democratic governance. It is a conscious act that enshrines mediocrity and effectively tells the people of Imo State that their lives, their security, and their well-being are commodities to be traded. It suggests a willingness to forsake long-term social stability for short-term political gains. The endorsement by the traditional rulers is an indicator of an institution that has strayed perilously far from its guiding ethos. It prompts a vital question: how can a society hold its traditional leaders accountable when they fail in their roles as custodians of public trust? So, what lies ahead? Imo State stands at a crossroads, and the direction it chooses will have implications far beyond its borders. The electorate now has a heightened responsibility to critically assess not only the performance of their political leaders, but also the role and impact of traditional institutions in modern governance. For too long, the lines between traditional reverence and critical accountability have been blurred. It is time to bring these traditional rulers into the sphere of public scrutiny to hold them accountable for their choices and their endorsements, just as we would our elected officials. If the recent political climate has proven anything, it is that democracy is not a spectator sport. It demands vigilant participation, ceaseless questioning, and, when necessary, the courage to restructure or abandon failing institutions. The endorsement of Governor Uzodinma should not be dismissed as mere political theatre. It should be seen for what it truly is: a symptom of a deteriorating system. As Imo State faces this crucial juncture, let us remember that the strength of a democracy is not defined by the absence of challenges, but by how effectively it rises to meet them. It is a moment of reckoning, and the actions we take today will shape the future of governance and perhaps the trajectory of democracy in Nigeria. We must choose wisely, for at stake is nothing less than the soul of our society.